Who here is doing A/B testing? Okay, 1/3. That's good. Who's running more than 10 A/B tests a month? Oh, come on, no one? So there's some things we can accomplish with each other here today. We need to do more of that. And I think a key part of this is having the right culture to do so. So let's talk about that one. And this is just a case study. So I work at Randstad, and I don't work at an agency, so I'm not going to tell you the 10 best steps to optimize your culture in 4 weeks. That's not. I'm just going to share my honest opinion about what we are trying to do, how that's going for us, the pros and cons. So hopefully that helps you. And hopefully this one helps me. Yeah. So this is what Randstad is known for since 1960. Getting people a new job, connecting employers and employees, finding that match. We have several services, so professionals, HR, staffing. We also do in-house solutions. And these are some of the brands you might know us from. I think Randstad is already quite known in the UK. And it's quite a big company. I have a lot of employees, a lot of colleagues. Most valuable HR company worldwide by market cap, most profitable by EBITDA, and almost the biggest one by revenue. Probably not going to take long. So that's pretty nice to work with. And to grow even further, this is one of the next steps, to fine-tune everything that we're doing online. That's also a culture challenge. Most of the directors of the countries don't really realize this because they come from the shops that we have. In the shopping malls, there are Randstad stores. People walk in for a new job. But actually, there's no country where there's a lower rate than 80% people. They all come through online. So online is a really important channel for us. And we need to optimize that customer journey of those job seekers. So that's where I come in. Psychology is my background. I know some things about human behavior, about the customer journey online. Been doing this for 10 years now. And I have some experience with setting up a lot of experiments and building those teams. And like Rebecca said, I also organized the first Magento in the Netherlands 10 years ago. And also involved with the Magento Association. So Syrah at Randstad, actually, it's a huge company, but it's still quite new, optimization. And for a lot of companies, but Randstad has only been doing this since summer 2017, so about a year that they're doing it right now, and I've been working there since November. And currently, 39 countries where we're doing this, where we're trying to do this. 16 time zones, which is a fun challenge in itself. So a lot of cultures also, a lot of early mornings with Japan, a lot of late evenings with Canada and Chile. And currently we have 16 countries onboarded on the experimentation program. And yeah, that's probably, we're going to stick with those countries for a while now. The rest is a bit smaller. And there's a huge range also in maturity levels. You can imagine some countries are quite big, like UK, the Netherlands, Italy, Canada, Germany. But not all those countries have huge digital teams. So there's a gap in the capabilities they have, the number of people they have, but also the knowledge they have. Our goals for this year were to run 400 experiments, and 10 of those should have at least 100K profit impact. And we're currently at a pace of 450 experiments, so that's going quite well, especially as last year we didn't do anything. To expand that UX role, evangelize this within the company, get an experimentation culture going, and get an active global team of running the experiments and learning from that. And yeah, like I said, currently 450 experiments. That's the pace we have. We have around 50, 60 experiments live right now at any given moment. Let's start with the negative, the things that don't really work in favor of Randstad for doing this. Just so you understand the challenge that we have with this. It's not something everyone likes to do, experimentation. Let's keep things running as they are. That should be fine. It's working for us for over 60 years now. Let's not experiment too much. It's a bit scary, so it's not in the DNA for everyone to do this. Yeah, online is just lead gen. It's not pure e-commerce, right? So at Randstad, people apply for a job online, but the real placement of a job, that's an offline process. So online is just seen as lead gen. That doesn't really help. Not all data is connected nicely. I think that's in every company. But also at Randstad, some companies have this in place where we can see, okay, this person comes in through which online channel and then connect it to a placement. I think we have 5, 6 countries that can do that, but not everywhere. Limited local resources. Who doesn't have a resource issue, but depends on the country, of course. And the operating countries are fairly independent. So I work at the holding company, but I cannot dictate things to the country for them to do. They're fairly independent, so I work more as an internal consultancy to them than someone that's telling them what to do, which I think is a nice way of doing business, but doesn't always help. I always need to convince each and everyone to do something. And it's an old company, so there are strong opinions on brand and how Randstad should look like and how it should present. So the branding team, the first month they already came with a lot of things that I cannot test on, which I threw away. I mean, we will be testing on everything, it's just that we won't implement everything. That's fine, I'm okay with that, but we're going to test everything if we want to. Like I said, we're just doing this for a year, so Syrah is very immature yet, right now. Things that do work in our favor, being at Randstad. Like I said, it's immature, but it's also a good thing. So SEO and SEA is much more mature at Randstad. But it's mature on the local levels. So my colleagues at the holding trying to get a global line into a global process going for SEO and SEA, that's horrible for them because every country has their own agency, their own process, their own tools. It's horrible. For me, it's actually quite easy. I just go out to them and say, hey, you need this tool, this process, and they say, okay, most of them at least. So that's making my life a bit easier, so it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Management buy-in, that's why I came on board, because the management wants to do this on a global level, that helps. We have heaps of data, we have quite good data teams, data insight teams, that helps. And they can provide us with a lot of insights already, data. Most countries run on the same platform. As you can imagine, a lot of acquisitions over the last years, a lot of different platforms, but the majority, I think 25 countries are running the same platform. And that really helps, and more are on board on the same platform, that really helps. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to optimize. Yeah, it's a big company, so if you have a right business plan, there's always money to do something without. So it's a work in progress. And now you might be thinking, okay, so why would you need a culture? We can just get an A/B testing tool, get Optimizely, get Convert, get OmniConvert, get VWA, install it, and go for it. It's usually not the case, and that's also what I see. For the larger countries, it's fine. If you have a dedicated team, it's fine. If you have a digital marketing that they already have a full-time job. And CRO is not something usually you do on the side. You don't start A/B testing on the side. I'm not saying it has to be a full-time job of one person, but you need to be consistent at it. It doesn't really bring you that much if you're doing one test each month. Also at Randstad and at the previous companies I worked at, I think the previous company I worked with, we had 1 in 6 success rate of A/B test. So and success defined as some positive uplift, so we earn more money. 1 in 6. I think at Randstad it's 1 in 10. I know at Booking.com it's 1 in 10. I know at Microsoft they fully automated testing. They're testing everything at their Bing search engine. 1 in a million tests is a success. So the more tests you run, the lower your success rate. So you can imagine just doing one test doesn't do that much. You learn by testing, and most of your tests will be a failure, as in it won't directly increase your revenue. You'll learn from it if you do it correctly, but it doesn't necessarily directly increase your revenue. I can do everything by myself, so I need to build that culture so people understand what's happening, they are knowledgeable about it, and they can move forward without me telling them what to do. Like I said, I have from Japan to Chile, Canada. I cannot be into contact with them each time, each day. So we need to build that culture, the processes, the habits of doing this. And we can support them, but they have to do it on their own. And this is some of the first things you'll need to fix if you start doing this. If you come out A/B testing, showing results, hey, we are earning $500,000 extra because of this fix. People need to trust that data, need to trust you that this is correct. So ideally, don't just do this by yourself. Connect with your finance or BI team to confirm those numbers. People need to trust Google Analytics and trust your numbers. And experimentation doesn't come natural. Like I said, some people are scared about this, and it's a chance of failure, right? It's a really big chance of failure. So for us, 9 out of 10, it's going to be a failure. It's not going to be a big success. And it's also really small incremental changes that you do. It's not going to be a big win each time, but it's small incremental changes. And our brain isn't really wired to work with exponential formulas. But if you increase your website each day just or each week just by 0.5%, what's 0.5%? It's not that much. But if you consistently do that each week, 0.5%, after a year, your website will be 30% better. And that is a lot of money. And you need to get people, well, this is a fear. You don't need to publish everything that's wrong, but it is something you need to work on, because those failures are actually quite important. You need to know what's not working for your customers. I think this might be even more important than to know what's working. And why is it working? That's something you need to figure out. Why is it working? Why isn't it working? That's what you're trying to figure out. That's important to know to push your product and push your website forward. Because you're not only improving just the interface, it's the whole customer journey, the whole conversation you have with your customer. That's what you're trying to optimize for. And for me, this feels a lot like community building. What I've been doing in the Netherlands with Magento, it feels a bit similar. You need to get in contact with people, you need to train them to get them on a higher level, you're helping them, get events to transfer knowledge, help to share that knowledge. We work with an online community to share all these things. That's something you need to facilitate. It's important to get that management buy-in. So maybe you are that lone wolf that thinks, hey, this is something we should be doing. Get that management buy-in. Start testing, start running experiments, and show them the first results, show them the power of experimenting, not just the uplift, but also just the learnings that you get from this. and get those teams involved as quickly as possible. Showcase the ROI for them, also in terms of time spent. In my previous job at Euroflorist, a Swedish flower company, at first the development team was quite annoyed because we were running tests and the website was changing all the time, so they didn't feel like they were in control. So we fixed that so they could see where experiments were running. But they also saw a lot of times previously, before we started experimenting, actually the experimentation team, that was a development team. So they built a feature, it failed, and they canceled it, they removed it from the website, built another feature, failed again, remove it or optimize it. And they saw, well, actually, if the first step is running the experiments, after that it goes to the development team, then the development team, everything they do is already validated. And they were very happy that they were not all the time building stuff that would be canceled afterwards. So also get those other teams involved and build that mindset. And like I said, you shouldn't be satisfied with what you have right now. It's fine that you've been doing this for 60 years. That's probably not the best way of doing things right now. And customer habits change so fast. I mean, we all know about mobile, of course, but there are a lot of things that keep changing. How people look for jobs. Like in Japan, they're now experimenting. You don't search for a job in your area, in your radius, but you search a job by tram or metro line. Perfect, great, but that's where people get used to. If your competitor is doing, that's what people are used to, and they come to your website, you don't have that feature. It feels really old, outdated, not the way you want to search for a job, not the way you want to do business. We also started creating a clear North Star goal for everyone. And we did this on 4 areas, or 3 areas: platform, people, and process. Creating a North Star goal, as in something that will be really hard to reach. Maybe we can only reach it in 10 years, but that's the clear dot on the horizon where we're going through. Just to give you an example, this is our people moonshot, where we want to go, what we want to reach at a certain point. So we all know this is where we want to go in this area. Same thing with process. And these are intentionally quite vague. They're not measurable. That's the next step. So the moonshot, that will be level 5. That's where we want to go. This is a quite standard maturity model for Syrah. And then this is where we want to go. No country is there. Then we plot the country. Okay, where are you right now? And then we can then we know what the steps are to take you to that next level. And then it gets more detailed into the specific metrics that you need to reach. This is an important one. I spoke about management buy-in. If your manager is part of the board, then great. Then that's your shit umbrella. But the shit umbrella is the person above you that needs to take care that you can still keep doing what you're doing. Syrah it's a long-term investment, a long-term process, mid to long term. It's not something. It's not going to yield any results next month. It's not going to happen. But it is going to happen if you continuously invest in this, and then it's going to grow and exponentially. But you need someone that understands that and can take care of the critics within the company or within the board. This is, well, in e-commerce already quite difficult, but it's doable. At Randstad it's even a bit harder, but like I said, we only do applications online, and the actual placement where we earn money, that's a step further. But try to translate it in ROI and involve your business team to do this. That will make it much more tangible for everyone in the company, what this is doing. Also for the people, when we create IDs, everyone in the company, we have a platform to create IDs, so I can see whose ID it is. And then at the end, we can tell them, hey, this is what you earned. You earned 100,000 extra euros for the company just by doing this. And that's really helpful. We have bi-weekly calls with a worldwide team to discuss what we are doing. Of course, everyone needs to know what's going on, and it's really helpful to get them sharing information. But I did notice that after a while, we now have 35 people in that call. The larger that call gets, the quieter it gets. So 3 months ago, I started with creating Syrah Buddies. People, one-on-one connected, Syrah specialists from each country, and they're connected to someone in another country, and they will make experiments together for 6 months, and then they switch countries. And this really helps them. To connect, to get to know each other, but also to run an experiment in another country. How cool is that? They find it really enjoyable to be able to work on something and have an effect halfway across the globe and get recognition for that. So the Google Plus community. Who uses Google Plus? Exactly. At Randstad, everything is Google, so Gmail, Gdocs, that's really good. But so everyone's using Hangouts and Google Plus, so that's what we stuck with. We can, of course, use Slack or any other platform, but just I wanted to use what people are already using. That's important. Part I didn't want to force them to use anything else, but this is an important platform with a Google Plus community where everyone is sharing. All the tests are shared there, what they're doing with the test, the issues they have when setting up a test. It's all shared there, and they can help each other online. So I don't have to be there each time to help them. They can help each other. That's really helpful. So it's Syrah Buddy system one-on-one. And the recognition, that's also really helpful and really important to them. If you leave out their name and it's their experiment, then I get a lot of crap. But it also really helps them it helps them to get their manager involved, to show, hey, this is what we are doing. The test we are doing right here didn't only help Portugal, but it also helped Spain, it helped Italy, it even helped Australia. And putting them on a global stage, so to say, really helps them connect and get involved even further. And one of the most important things, I think, the transparent workflow tool. Of course, you have your A/B testing tool, but we also have a platform project management tool for all the experiments. And this already starts at the ideation phase. So when we have a brainstorm session, or when we have a UX research session, or we have or the data team comes up with a lot of new insights about the behavior of people on site, we can already directly insert that into our platform. And already have a collection with that, and then start there, creating hypotheses, creating experiments, and then actually for some of those are picked up by the local team, some of them are picked up by a global agency, but then they start building those tests. And another important factor there is also the results. The reports are in there, the reports are generated, and everyone can see that. Everyone has access to all the tests that we are running worldwide, so they can all see what's happening, what's successful in other countries. And hey, I want to test something on the job application form, specifically for desktop users. Just go into the tool, filter on those variables, and you can see the list of tests that's already been done there. So you can use that as input for your new test. It's called Effective Experiments, the tool. If you want to have a look, there are multiple, but specifically tuned towards running experiments. The last thing is some new things I hope that will work, that we're trying. First thing is that we're trying to move away from the term CRO, actually. It is an industry term, conversion rate optimization, but it's not really helping because it's not the best term, I think. It's not only about conversion rate, it's about the whole customer journey. It's about the value you add. So we're trying to, usually when we have internal communication around this, we use the terms like ID validation, business growth, or innovation. I try to steer away from conversion rate. Kind of depends on your own country that you're in, how comfortable people are with that, but I think the terms below here are working better. I think people respond better to that than when you talk about conversion rate optimization. It's too narrow. And I'm trying to get involved in everyone that's onboarded in the company, which is a lot of people, but also everyone give them a video or a small training or a catch up with me, depending on who it is and where they are, to talk about running experiments. It's important for everyone. It's not only important for the online team, it's not only important for the digital marketing, it's important for everyone to understand how our customers are moving around and what's important, what's working, what isn't working for them. Also, it's for customer service, it's for all the recruiters that we have. So when you start to do some Googling, same thing, these are some common things you'll see pop up for successful experimentation cultures at some big companies. I think we're definitely getting there. We can check off some of these things already. And if you want to know more, it's not just creating a culture if you have a big company, but if you also have to deal with different cultures, as in people from usually different countries, I can really recommend this book, The Culture Map by Aaron Meyer, talking about when someone from the UK will be doing business with someone from France. They'll be probably horribly annoyed by how chaotic the French are and how nothing is on time and everything's flexible. You cannot really make an appointment with them. It's horrible. But when you ask someone from India how their experience is with the French, they will say, oh, they're so strict, everything, there are rules for everything. And so it's all about perspective. And I think this book really does a good job of highlighting this and how you can work with different cultures, how you can cope with that, and how you can work with those. So highly recommend it. Last thought I want to tell you, this might sound complicated, but just get shit done. That's a really important one. Start testing right away. I didn't start with all these things on day one. We started testing. We continued testing, continue experimenting. It's really important. Like I said, it's a long-term thing. So you don't, if I start a test today, it will take at least 4 weeks to get some results. So things take time with running the experiments, and it takes time to get successes. So start running those as soon as possible. It can be simple things, but start testing right away so you can start collecting successes too, and show them, use that for your ROI calculation, and show them to your teams and show the value you can bring to the company by doing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guido. Has anybody got any questions?
I'm just taking you back to your slide, move away from CRO
Yes.
and A/B testing to idea validation. I'm going to ignore A/B testing because that's a thing in its own category. And you could also argue that CRO, idea validation, business growth and innovation, they all are multifaceted things. Why would you want to drop the very focused thinking that comes out of CRO? Because it's a very specific, doesn't devalidate all the others. All the others are absolutely critical too. But CRO, why would you want to have anybody not think about CRO with that focus?
At least on the higher business level, they don't know the term at all to start with. Management doesn't really care about the conversion rates. Management cares about the outcome of the conversion rates, and that's having more applicants in our case, making it easier for the recruiters, earning more money, and those are the things, at least at Randstad, that they care about. And CRO doesn't really ring a bell with them. And CRO, in my idea, also with in general e-commerce, it's not just about conversion rate optimization, it's also about the revenue you get, the average order value. Right? So conversion rates, it feels a bit too narrow. And I see at a lot of companies, I have this discussion with a lot of CRO practitioners, that usually when you start out with CRO, it gets too low level, and they have trouble getting management on board when they talk about CRO all the time, instead of, it's much easier when you talk about ID validation, when you talk about innovation, when you talk about customer journeys and optimizing that, it gets easier. But of course, it might depend on the company where you're at, how easy this is, or how important those terminology is. Yeah.
My view would be that people who do, whilst there's merit in all of the other facets you said, those people that have a very focused scientific and analytical process on CRO would eat your lunch.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, but we try to get those people in, but those are not the ones talking to higher management, usually.
Thank you.
Hello. A bit more details maybe on how do you decide which test to run? Do you use like Hotjar, Full Story, any other tracking user on the website, and then based on that come up with tests, or just discuss and do brainstorming?
Danielle? We use, so in the same tool, in Effective Experiments, what we have, so we can add all the IDs that we have. And those IDs, that sounds a bit like that's not completely true. It comes from the data that we have. We look at Google Analytics, we see weird things happening over there. We use Hotjar. We also have Full Story on a couple of websites. But we also do the user research, and user research, that's usually just a couple of people a day. Google Analytics, that's everyone's tracked, well, almost everyone, especially with GDPR. You have a lot of data in there, at least. Hotjar and Full Story is something in between in the amount of users that you have, and they all have their issues. But I think if you combine those, it gives a pretty good idea of, okay, where are the issues with your website, and what should you focus on optimizing. And in Effective Experiments, we can grade all the IDs that we have. So we use an adapted model. If you can look for the Conversion XL prioritization model. Conversion XL is a popular blog on conversion. If you don't know it, definitely follow that one. A lot of high quality content there. And the CXL model, I think they call it PXL because priority. You check certain boxes. Is this validated by UX research? Is this validated by the data that we have? Is this already proven in another test? Is this on a page with a lot of traffic? So there's a whole checklist, and actually there's also the PI model. I think those are just 3 questions, but it's a bit vague. The PXL model is a bit more, there are more questions, but they're actually quite easy to answer, and everyone answers them in the same way. So that's relatively easy. It doesn't matter if I answer the questions or someone else, everyone gives the same answer. And there's like 10 questions, and you just score them. So each yes is a 1 and each no is a 0, or you can fine tune it a bit to suit your company. But then out of all the IDs, if you do that for all the IDs, you get a ranking of the IDs, and then the one with the most likely interesting output will be on top of that list, and that's how we decide to run the test.
Well, thank you very much. And if anybody has any other questions, I'm sure you can find Guido around the event today or on Twitter @GUIDO. So yeah, please join me in giving him a final round of applause. Thank you, Guido.